That's what we do here.
Hey, this is episode 108, 9.
I feel like you titled the last episode that I did incorrectly. I think you titled it 108, and I feel like we had already done episode 108.
There's only one way to find out, and it's by going to unqualifiedgamers.com, where you can find our latest podcast, Google Play Store, iTunes Store, or the Unqualified Gamers app for Google Play. And you can also sell t-shirts with our logo and other things that are happening.
You mean you can
So
buy t-shirts, or can they actually sell them as well? Because I think
you can buy
oh,
t-shirts.
we can sell them.
We sell, you buy. You can also find articles, videos, and hilarious Castlevania Symphony of the Night memes that I photoshopped over a year ago, which video game Facebook page like Gamnesia or something shared, and it got 4,000 likes. And then someone photo commented with another one of the Photoshop memes that I created, and that got 500 likes. So that is over 5,500 likes that I almost never saw.
Um, well, if you multiply those two numbers together, it's more like 2 million likes that you missed out on.
Yeah.
Because like if you use like multiplication of threads and comments of likes, like that's how many it actually is.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so what I was saying was that by going to that website, unqualifiedgamers.com, where you can find out all about us, check out our YouTube channel, and things like that, I can find that we are indeed now on episode 109. So, listener, you are currently listening to episode 109. It's being spoken by Cody Goff, who is me,
And
and
Jonathan Martin, who is not you.
that is correct.
So here we are. We're on another episode where we talk about video games and only video games and nothing but video games, like we've always done for the past 108 episodes. Yeah, but I think we should do things a little differently this time. We should, maybe people want to know about us a little bit, and they might want to hear about our weekends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny you should mention that because I don't remember mine. But maybe if you talk about yours, it'll jog my memory.
Yeah. So you have not been on the show for a while. You've been like really, really busy with like you. I mean, last week was me, and then the week before that was neither of us because we took a week off, and it was just like you haven't been around forever. Uh, this weekend I turned 30. That's what I did.
You what?
I turned the dial 30 clicks.
I thought you were 49.
I have lived on this earth. The earth has completed its orbit around the sun 30 times. That's like half of the earth's life since I've been on the earth.
Wait, what's half of the Earth's life?
My life is like half of the life that's ever existed on earth.
Oh, right, because Earth is 60 years old.
I mean, the math in my head was different, but yeah, that's what I said. Earth is like at least 60 years old, like I said.
Okay, great, cool. That's the conclusion I came to. Well, how was that for you? What did you do other than not text me back, jerk?
You just said old. Like I didn't even know how to respond to that.
I said the word old when my 30th birthday. You texted me and said, "God, you're so old." It's
I
like
know.
the same thing. Mine was just more succinct.
Okay, so my birthday was good. My wife planned a day out. We went to lunch together, and we went to a Star Trek exhibit thing that was in town. It had a bunch of the paraphernalia from all of the series, including like the ship that they used in Nemesis, that scorpion ship thing that the main bad guy uses to destroy the internet or the Enterprise, to damage the Enterprise at like the start of the movie. And then it had a bunch of the actual props that were used in the show, like various tricorders from different series, various communicator badges from different series. It had a whole timeline of the show, a lot of the actual costumes that people wore, like one of Data's uniforms, one of Jean-Luc Picard's uniforms, all that kind of stuff. Some great information on Scott Bakula, and probably the best of all of the Star Trek series was in there. Actually, it's kind of funny, but Star Trek Enterprise, of the entire exhibit, got like one panel. It got like one panel talking about it. So I think even, and this was like, an actual, who owns Star Trek? Paramount. This was like a Paramount. This was like a Paramount like sanctioned exhibit. I mean, this was like a legit exhibit that travels across the country, and even they have kind of disowned the Enterprise series, the most recent Star Trek series. So that was kind of nice to see. Although the theme song from Enterprise played twice on the background speakers in the exhibit while we were in there, so that was kind of funny.
That is awesome and pleases me immensely.
It was horrible because it's a horrible theme song. So we did that, and then we went and we played. Have you ever played the card game Bang?
Yeah.
It's a really accessible card game that a lot of people probably haven't played, but it's basically a high noon Wild West card game. We played that. It was Casey and I, and then one of our friends who's a couple, Nick and Kristen. You know them. We played that, only we got a variant of it that is Walking Dead related, but it's Bang just with like Walking Dead characters.
Are you a fan of Walking Dead?
No, but it was like it was an on sale version of the game. I mean, it was the exact same game just on sale. So we got that and we played that, and then we went out to dinner, and it was like 75 degrees, and we sat on a patio for like 3 hours, and we went to this place that had 95 or 100 beers on tap or something like that, and just I got to drink a ton of different kinds of beer, and it was really fun. And then we stayed the night in a hotel, and my mother-in-law watched the boy, so we didn't have to worry about him. And then in the morning we got up, and I got these ridiculously amazing pancakes at this restaurant that I'd never been to. And that was it. That was my 30th birthday. It was awesome.
Sounds like a nice full couple. So you took the next day off?
Oh, it was Sunday. We celebrated my birthday on a Saturday, and then
okay.
And then like on my actual birthday, the celebration was basically over.
It sounds very domestic.
It was very. I mean, I am domestic, so that like makes sense. Like I really.
You sound like a married man.
I am a married man, so it was.
You sound like a married father.
I am that as well. So I'm a married man father. I'm a
you
married
sound like
man
an orc.
Father. So I'm yeah. No, I'm not that though.
Well, you might be. You don't know. You don't know till you check or get it checked. Spay and neuter your pets, kids.
So yeah, that was my birthday weekend, and like we did the pancake thing, and then we went to church, and then we on Monday we actually like did a family dinner with my mother-in-law and then my brother and sister-in-law. And you want to know how old I am? Here's how old I am. The Christmas or the birthday present that I wanted and that I received were gardening tools. I got a spreader which spreads seed and fertilizer.
Oh, I was gonna say I got a spreader, but mine came from a sex shop. I think it's different than the one you're talking about.
I suppose mine could do that, but it's quite large. It's quite large. And then I got some gardening tools for weeding. I mean, that is how old I am. I'm getting gardening tools, and I'm like, they're the things that I asked for, and I'm excited about. I'm excited to fertilize my lawn.
Yeah, I mean, you've really You've been
It's
lame for
it's
years. This goes back to
kind
like
of
high
pathetic.
school.
Like it's kind of pathetic. I'll be honest, it's kind of pathetic. And so I never had like a green thumb growing up. It's not like I was because I played a ton of video games. I was indoors all the time. That's like all I did. Um, but one of my grandfathers was huge into gardening, and it's not like he taught me anything. And really before I developed any kind of interest in it, um, he had already passed away. But I think there's some genetic component to it because like in the past couple of years, I have just had this incredible desire, and there's just like a there's just like a it brings me to this other place like when I'm out in the yard doing yard work. I don't know. Like I can't explain it. And I think for my grandpa it was like the same thing because it's kind of the way that I feel when I'm out there now. It's like a total zen-like experience. Like I can spend hours out there weeding and doing other crap and planting stuff. Like it's really fun for me. So I've just like noticed that over the past couple of years. I'm just like that I'm developing into that. So that's kind of cool.
Why are you
Why go?
not growing Marlboros in your garden?
Because that's a brand of cigarette. Or
Nope.
are you talking about the thing that uses bad breath?
Yes. Yes. Why don't you plant one and then use it to defend your home?
So that is a perfect segue that I'm going to point out. Uh,
Segways are way better when pointed out, like
right.
way better.
So that's a perfect segue that I'm going to point out because I killed a lot of Marlboros in the two games. Well, actually, I've played multiple. I played more than two games, but you know, last week I gave you an update on my Final Fantasy project that I'm working on of playing through all of the games again, right? And so I plan on doing that again. And Marlboros feature not largely, but they definitely feature in the Final Fantasy franchise. But we need to talk about your weekend first. So really, it wasn't that good of a segue.
Well, it would have been had you. I just figured you were going to disregard my entire weekend, which would not surprise me, frankly, at all.
I wouldn't do that to you. I need some time to not pay attention to you so I can pay attention to something else. And the only way to do that is to have you talk and me not listen.
Oh, that's fair. Okay. So, I haven't been like really doing anything on weekends, quite frankly, for the last couple of weeks, other than just hanging out. Hang on. That's quite quiet, isn't it? Other than hanging out with my girl and nothing like super out of the ordinary. But last week, the reason I couldn't record was because last week there was this crazy thing with work. It was basically they had some global meeting of everyone in the universe converging in Chicago, including like my boss and her boss and his boss and the boss's boss and like the head of the whole company. So like it was this big thing, and they had all these big board meetings and things. So that meant there was a lot of social activity involved. So basically, every night after work, I ended up hanging out with coworkers and like networking until late. I drank every night last week, and I'm not a big drinker anymore now that I don't have any college student friends to
You
hang
know
out
that you're not
with.
going to high school parties, is what you're saying.
Right, because they all graduated and went away from high school parties. So yeah, so I don't drink much anymore except for that last week that happened and it was just crazy. So I was just like, dude, John, do your own episode. And he did, and it was good, and you should watch it because it's actually a funny story about Diablo 3, which I know nothing about, but was still highly entertained. It was quite frankly better than most of our podcasts, I think one might say.
You know, you should know a lot about that game because if you listen to anything that I ever said when I talked about that game 3 or 4 times, you should like I talked a lot about that game very
Right. So I
extensively.
know nothing about Diablo 3.
And that sounds about
Based
right.
on what I've heard John say about the game, I know literally nothing about it. However, I do know about another Blizzard game called Hearthstone That's what I like to call a seamless transition, Jonathan. How do you feel about that seamless transition that
Are
was
we
so
gonna
seamless?
are we gonna talk about Hearthstone? Because
No.
I have some things to say about. I don't actually have a lot to say about Hearthstone because I've already said a ton about Hearthstone. But this is actually, I'll be honest, it's really fun for me that you have finally explored this game because my remembrance of you in the collectible card game scene was you were actually more into real collectible card games than I ever was, like actually holding the physical cards in your hand. And like the world has changed from when we were in school, and the internet is a thing now, and it's a big thing, and digital goods are a big thing. So like when I originally talked about Hearthstone, I said this is like the logical extension of the collectible card game. And I think that I have not found a game that has done it better than Blizzard's Hearthstone. And so that's when I remember talking about it, I was like, dude, like this is your game. Like this is a game for you. It really is. So I was very excited when it came out on phones because you didn't have it originally had come out on iPad and you didn't have one of those because you've always owned Android devices. And then it came out on phones, including Android phones, and I was like, dude, you have to get this now. Like you have to try this. And you had already tooled around with it a little bit on the computer, right? Like off and on.
Yeah, I played on the computer enough to know the game somewhat well. I unlocked a couple characters, all their cards, so I played it a fair amount.
Right, but once the game has transitioned now to a mobile game for you, what do you think about it as a mobile game?
Oh, I play it every day. It's easily the best mobile game that there is. And
Yeah,
I don't think
for you,
there's
right?
I don't think there's any argument to be made about that. Unless you're like very casual and you like Angry Birds, or you're addicted to crack and you play but what is it?
Crack pipe,
What's the crack game?
which is not a phone game. Crack pipe is not a phone game.
Oh,
Crack
crack crush saga, where you
that will
crush up crack.
crack pipe will ruin your life.
Crack pipe saga. Crack pipes crush saga. Crack pipe crack crap
You can't say that
crap
word.
crap.
You can't say that word. Yeah. So are you like playing you have a train ride, right?
Yeah, my train commute is currently 40 minutes, although that will change when I move into my new place literally next Friday.
Okay.
But at present I've got about a 40-minute commute on the train, and that is enough for 2 to 3 games of Hearthstone.
That's true.
So I play 2 to 3 games of Hearthstone every morning, and then 3 to 4 on the way home, since my commute is slightly longer because I have to transfer northbound. Doesn't matter. So I play, yeah, 5 or 6 maybe, or sometimes more games of Hearthstone a day. Like I went out to eat during my lunch break the other day, and I was supposed to meet somebody, and we had a miscommunication, and they got tied up, so she didn't end up meeting up. But I ended up just being at this like just this little Mexican joint up the corner, really good food, and we're just kind of chilling. And I was like, well, I don't want to just get this to go and go back to work. I'm just gonna sit here. And I just sat there eating and playing Hearthstone, and I played like 4 games. And I was just like, I just took like an hour lunch break from work and played Hearthstone for 40 minutes. Like,
I have 100% done that as well. Now I get a set lunch, but I have absolutely gone on my lunch break and played a game or two of Hearthstone on my lunch break. It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, because it is a game. Like, it's a game. It. I don't know how to exactly describe it, but I'm saying it's a game. But you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between a mobile game and a video game. Like, Final Fantasy Record Keeper is not Final Fantasy VI.
You
They
know,
try to port certain games to your phone, but it's not the same. Like, there's this.
I feel like there's a couple of different types of mobile games. Not that many, but a couple. And like I feel like the vast majority of people, when they think of a mobile game, think of like the on the toilet mobile game. Where it's like, I'm gonna take a crap and it's gonna take me 5 to 10 minutes, and I need something to do for 5 to 10 minutes, and I can like screw around in Angry Birds, which like a level will take 30 seconds for me to pull all the birds out, and then that's like it, and I'm done, and that is my experience with my mobile gaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
And then
it's, yeah, go ahead.
there's games like this. So, there's and then you've got a game like Hearthstone where it's like you need to dedicate if you're going to play a game, you need to dedicate 10 to 15 minutes for it. Um, but that's still not like a ton. It's still like a pretty quick pick up and go type thing. And since your phone is with you everywhere, that's I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
And that's definitely a different type of game than these like 30-second experiences that I had just mentioned.
yeah, and not that I dislike them, but this is like they are not what I would consider a game. I'm not going to get home from work, pull out my phone and play one of these. There's a different
Right.
purpose. So I guess when I say that Hearthstone's a real game, what I mean is you know what I mean. I'm not saying the other games aren't real games, but they serve a different purpose, like John said. Like they are mobile games. This is a video game on a phone. That's kind of a terrible analogy, but it's really all I've got right now. So you got to work with me here.
There's like a depth and complexity to it that is far more than you would see with your like standard mobile type game.
Yeah,
Is
it's a
I
game you can play on your TV for hours on end and not
Yeah.
get bored of, but it's on your phone. So anyway, yeah, I love it. It's great. I still play Final Fantasy Record Keeper on the side. I've maxed out. Well, I've kind of hit a plateau with leveling, and there's a really hard dungeon I can't get through from the elite dungeons. So I'm taking a short break just because it's leveling and things like that. I usually check in once a day to get the daily login bonus and maybe do like the optional dungeon to get extra crystals or gil or whatever. Because I do need to upgrade some weapons hardcore right now. But for the most part, like if I know I'm gonna, because that's the kind of game where you'd like to have not an extended period of time, but to play a couple quick levels, like you'd like to have maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I think, to play. Record Keeper, you can take out and play one round and it's done in 20 seconds. But I don't know. It doesn't fit that purpose for me as well. If it's more into the like kind of like longer experience category. But anytime I've got 10 or 15 minutes to kill, I will go to an internet connection that's like solid and consistent. It's going to be Hearthstone for sure. So that's taken over my mobile world basically. And even sometimes when I get home, I want to play it on my PC.
So have you finally the last time I talked to you, Hearthstone has 9 classes, and each class has its own unique ability, and then it's got like its own set of cards that are unique to that class, and then there's a bunch of neutral cards that all classes can use, and like you can make decks. You have to like pick a class when you make a deck, but then you can make a deck with like any cards that fall into those categories. Like if you are a mage, you can use mage cards and all of the neutral cards to make a deck. Um, and the last time I talked to you, they give you some basic decks when you very first start the game with basically each of the classes, and then as you play the classes, you unlock some cards for those classes. And eventually, like you get all the neutral cards unlocked, and you can just you can start making your own decks. And when I talked to you, you had not actually made a deck ever yet, like your own deck, right?
I had made like one mage deck, but that was only when I still only had like 3 of her cards unlocked. So it wasn't even with a full deck available, really.
Sure. And since then, you had unlocked like a ton more cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, on the desktop version, can't you use in-game gold to purchase chapters of the DLC?
Yeah, and you can on the mobile version as well.
You can't on the mobile version because I tried.
Do you have 700 gold?
I have 1,500 gold.
Wow, you should be
And
buying cards.
if
But
I go to the chapter area, so here's the thing, listener. There's DLC, right? Downloadable content for the game, additional levels you can play that give you additional cards. You can pay for them and you can get like the whole saga for like $30 or something. Or you
and
can buy them.
they're not just cards either. I mean, a pretty fun single player endeavor because other than these like single player crafted experiences that they've made for this game, the game is only player versus player. You know what I mean? You're only playing against other humans.
Yes. Yeah. So so they've got these 7 or so, or what, 5 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever per chapter. And that's great because it gives you extra stuff. But like I said, you can buy the whole thing for like 30, or it's like $5 or $6 or $7 a pop or whatever. But on the desktop version, I saw you could buy it with in-game gold. They had to have a ton of in-game gold. It had to be like 10,000 or some crazy high amount to buy it. But me, in my like, very cheap brain, even though I would like to give Blizzard some of my money I've gotten out of this game. The other part of me is just like, well, I mean, if I can get something for $30 for free, I'm going to try to do that. So I've just been hoarding gold. As I mentioned, I have 1,500 right now. And as I hoard gold, I would like to be able to buy these chapters individually as I had originally planned. But I've gone on my mobile in the shop and tried to buy a chapter, and it does not work if if you try to do that. So
I just checked and I was able to do it. So after the episode, I can show you how.
Maybe it's an iOS only feature because they know that.
Think so. I think you just don't know what you're doing, which is fine.
I probably don't know what I'm doing, but anyway, so I apparently can buy 15 expansion packs with my gold.
Yeah, you. I mean, you could buy packs of cards, which is like, that's half the fun of playing a collectible card game, is opening new packs. And there's this. Have you gotten new packs before? You've gotten at least some free ones, right?
I've gotten 3 or 4.
Yeah, that satisfying experience of opening a pack in this game. I mean, they do a great job of, the screen shakes when you get a rare card, and the border of the card turns the color of the rarity before the card flips over, and then it flips over kind of slow and zooms in really quick on it, and it's just awesome. I mean, they do an awesome job with that.
I feel like you just described sex in slow motion to me, the way you talked about that.
I am a poet.
However, I must mention at this juncture, sound engineering is very underrated in video games, because if this game did not have the sound effects that it has and the voices that it has, very specifically what they have, it could become very repetitive or annoying very quickly and less satisfying, because it is a satisfying experience when you have a guy with attack 8 attack their hero and the whole screen trembles and there's a different sound effect, and it's brilliant. It's great. It's so well sound designed.
And quite often cards have their own unique sound effects that they have upon playing them in the game, as well as when they attack. Like they have made unique sounds for them, and I'm like 95% sure that every legendary card, of which there are a lot, but every legendary card has its own sound effects.
Yeah, I don't really care for those. I hate them. I hate people. Here's the thing. I can start a match and know within 2 rounds if I should just give up the match. Because if it's somebody that downloaded Hearthstone and decided, well, I want to pay $40 for cards and get a bunch of really good cards and shuffle them into my not even fully completed decks and use them, I'm just going to do that. And then they do it, and then they play me. They're going to play like 6 or 7 like golden cards with like special borders and like weird little frilly crap in the corner, like sticking out of the card. Like all of those, right? And it'll be like, it costs 1 minute to play.
What Cody is referring to is they have also done this incredible, I think it's an incredibly awesome thing, where they have gold versions of the cards that the only difference between them is they animate on the game board. Like there's an animation happening in the background of the card on the game board. But otherwise, everything about the card is the same. But they look
totally broken. I like. How am I supposed to combat that?
They don't. They are the same card.
My characters are standing still, John. That's not the same thing.
So, what's your favorite deck? What's your favorite class? Like, who are you playing as?
I don't know. I've liked Warlock lately. That one's pretty good. I did end up making like 3 custom decks today, by myself. I did not use a website. I made a custom Warlock deck and it was pretty solid. I got a couple of pretty good wins in. It's so satisfying when the enemy has you down to like 4 health and they have 30 plus 8 shield, and then you just come back and destroy them.
I can't believe you would win a match like that. That's insane. Because like, there's so many ways to do that little damage to another character. So that's crazy to me that he was
I
not
was
able to
fighting
kill
a
you.
warrior,
Yeah, they're
right?
pretty
So they
they're
don't have a
pretty
lot of
defensive.
spells. They don't have a lot
Right.
of spells that can get through. And seriously, the last 5 minions I had all had taunt. So, and I got the card where it makes the dying breath for all characters on the board that you summon a 2/2 demon or whatever. So I used that when I had like 5 guys on the board, and his hand was empty, right? I only had like 1 or 2 cards, but his hand was empty, so he'd like get it anyway. It doesn't matter. But I came back from like a 30 literally over a 30 deficit, uh, including shields, and won the match. And that was awesome. So my Warlock custom deck, I think, is quite good. I like that a lot. I made a Druid custom deck because the Druid is awful. The Druid is the worst character. You know, the challenge the other day was like win 3 games with the Druid, and it took me 2.5 days to get it, playing only as the Druid. Like, he
Okay.
is god awful. Mordecai or whatever, I hate him. I dislike the Druid. So I'm like, well, his custom decks can't suck that hard, right? So I made a custom deck, and I crushed someone, losing like 1 health and just utterly obliterating them. So I don't know if I got lucky or if they were bad or what the deal is. But so yeah, I've got a decent Druid deck now, and then I made a custom Hunter deck. And the Hunter, I think, is generally considered to be one of the better kind of classes or basic decks, maybe, or something. Because
I think here's the secret about Hearthstone and classes in particular, and that they are relatively well tuned, and they all, like, you need to play to each of those characters' strengths, and you need to make sure you have cards in the deck that play to that character's strengths. For instance, to give you an example, um, the Druid is not a good example because because they have an ability that gives them both attack and defense. They are they're relatively versatile. But something like the Hunter, which does like the Hunter's only ability is to do direct damage to the opponent in this game. Like, you spend 2 mana and you do 2 damage to the opponent. That's what the Hunter does. So Hunter decks tend to do really well when they have a lot of like low cost creatures that can move very quickly and take a game early. A lot of the most successful Hunter decks are based around that ability because the Hunter's ability is based around that ability. Um, a Rogue, because a Rogue can equip a weapon and attack minions as your main character, they're all about creating a minion disadvantage because you can use your main character is like having another minion with attack. So rogue decks, when they are successful, tend to be centered around wiping the enemy's board of minions because you can use your character to attack other minions, and then your minions have a free access to the other enemy hero. So like, because each of the classes has a different ability and they're all tuned, many people would say, very well to each other. You just have to play to that deck's strength. The Warlock, for instance, is all about draw power. It's the only class in the game that draws additional cards with its power. So it's pretty costly, right? It costs 2 mana and 2 health, but you get a card. No other class can get that many cards. So the most successful Warlock decks that you see cycle cards through their hand like crazy, just like crazy. So it's a really cool game because of that.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
I
But
was just
anyway,
about to say,
that is more to your opinion that like druids are bad. Druids are not bad. They are just a versatile class.
well, they're awful
Mm-hmm.
as the basic deck without customizing. Like I said, I crushed it with the Druid when I made a custom deck. So I succumbed to the temptation to build custom decks, and now there we are. I will pay money for this game towards this game or whatever, money will exchange hands at some juncture. I don't know exactly when, but money will definitely change hands, and I'll give it to Blizzard and buy either an expansion or a bunch of cards because I'm sick of getting destroyed by gold cards and super rare cards where you spend 2 mana to summon a 7/8 demon with taunt and bestiality or whatever that skill is that lets you attack
No,
twice.
it's bestiality as a terrible.
It is
terrible
right. So
ability.
he's got
Yeah.
taunt and bestiality, so he can attack twice, and divine shield. And then his next turn, he plays a card for 3 mana that doubles the number of cards in his hand, gives his hero +1 attack for every card in his hand, and you can play any card in your hand for free. Oh, and the first card you play destroys all of my minions. Like that happens within like 3 or 4 turns, and I'm like, well, there is no way I can possibly beat you. And I know you've said the game is relatively well balanced, so that even if someone has a lot of superior cards, you still can win. But I'm calling bullshit on that.
It's much harder. I mean, I think they can win if you play a lot of times if you play it smartly.
If they're really bad, I think you can win.
Here is my recommendation for how this is how I would spend my money on it if you wanted to spend real money. Because the solo adventures are relatively costly, typically they're 700 gold per wing of the adventure, and they're often 5 wings. So it would be about 3,500 gold, I think, to buy each of the solo adventures. Or I think it's $15 for the whole adventure. What I would recommend you do is you buy the whole adventure with real money, and you just use the gold that you accumulate by playing the game to open new packs of cards. Because you're getting a relatively constant flow of gold in this game if you play it on a regular basis, and it only costs 100 gold to buy a pack of cards, and every pack of cards has 5 cards in it, and you're guaranteed at least 1 blue rarity card or better. Oftentimes you'll get more than that. And it takes 2 to 3 days to build up enough gold to buy a pack of cards, playing it on a regular basis, which is not that long. It's really not. So if you're using gold to buy those cards, I think it probably is easier to extend the length of the game that way, because you're constantly getting new stuff to fill out your collection. And it does a great thing where it's got this big book of cards that shows you what's in your collection of cards, so you can just kind of peruse that, and that really feeds into that collection aspect of a collectible card game, which I know that you're into. So I don't know if you've ever actually...
I'm into getting good cards more than like collecting them all.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, you're guaranteed some good cards when you open decks. So yeah.
Well, I'll probably start doing that. I'll probably get some packs, but the thing is, because then I'll feel like I have to recustomize an entire deck. I don't like...
Once you actually get into the game, you're going to be recustomizing decks all the time. But you'll get really fast at it because you'll be used to it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's fine. But anyway, it's an awesome game. It's the best mobile game that I can think of. It's a real video game. I play it a lot. I play it like a lot.
You know what's going to be awesome is when this game shows up on your Game of the Year list this year.
Was it on yours last year?
It was. It was like it was 3, I think.
I couldn't remember. Okay. Yeah. No, what'll be nice is when I come up from MartinCon in a few weeks and I actually see you in person.
Oh, we can play.
Well, I guess what I was thinking more is that you can play and our friends can watch you and know what you're doing, and me not be the only person in the room who has no idea what's going on. Because that definitely happened last year.
I had some fantastic arena runs last year when we played. Oh, have you even done the arena yet? Have you tried that?
I did the one test version of it or whatever they give you for free, but don't you have to pay for it?
No, you only have to pay 150 gold, and you're guaranteed a pack.
Oh,
you're guaranteed 1 pack of cards at the end of an arena run, if not more. And that's if you
mentioned you explained the arena in like the first time you ever reviewed this game on this podcast.
Yeah, it's almost like I told you that I made a deep explanation of this game when we talked about it.
This is like a really long time ago, though.
Yeah. Yeah, the arena is the draft.
10 episodes.
Yeah.
It's like a week.
Yeah.
So tell me more about whatever you were saying.
Oh, the arena is the draft mode. So it's the mode where you draft 30 cards, and everybody drafts 30 cards from a random assortment of cards. So the decks are relatively equal.
Okay.
It's
All
all
right,
based
cool.
on what you draft.
Well, I'm down with that sickness, yo. Moo! Cool. Well, did you have anything else to say about Hearthstone? Because I think I've just kind of talked about how awesome it is.
No, I agree with you. We are in agreement on this one.
First time for everything. Am I right? Although I hear there's another game that you agree with me has quite a bit of style.
Yeah. So what? How many episodes have we talked about playing this game?
Oh, at least 20.
Yeah. So you and I both finally started Transistor. And I guess I don't want to talk about it a ton yet. Before I talk about Transistor, I will say I completed Final Fantasy IV again. I just absolutely destroyed Zeromus, which I don't remember him being that easy in this version of the game. But I just destroyed him. So that went very well. No problems there. I have a save now ready for the next time I want to play this game in like 3 years. That is going to have like all the augments. I'm just going to be able to walk through it. It'll be great. And then I am on Kefka's dungeon in Final Fantasy VI, so that will be completed soon as well. I'll basically be like ready for Final Fantasy VII. I'll probably already have started playing that by the time you guys come up for Martin Con. In
For Final Fantasy
earnest.
VI, did you get the Ragnarok Esper or Sword?
The Esper.
Fun fact, growing up, literally, I don't think I ever once on the Super Nintendo version proper ever got Ragnarok the Esper. I never learned Ultima growing up.
That's a
Like
sad.
legit, I always got the sword because the
That's a
sword
sad
randomly.
childhood you had.
No, because the sword randomly casts flare, and when you equip it on Terra, and Terra gives the final blow to Kefka with a sword that casts flare, that was some sick stuff right there. It was legit. I always thought Illumina was a garbage sword because Illumina's elemental was Pearl, and apparently like half the monsters in the Veld absorb Pearl. In fact, most of the enemies in the world of Ruin absorb Pearl. So the Illuminati is totally worthless. It's the Illumina. It doesn't matter. The Illuminati sword is totally worthless. It was probably called the Illuminati sword in Japan, but they had to shorten it for translation. I bet that is a thing that happened.
Yeah, you're probably right. So that game is almost done. I'll be done with that game, I would think, by the next episode, unless I don't have any chance to play it at all, or unless I'm too into Transistor to play it. So let's talk about Transistor. Just briefly, again, because again, I don't want to go too far into it since we haven't completed it yet, and you're only a couple hours in. Mostly, let's just talk about the style of the game, because Bastion had some style, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's fair. It had this almost like watercolor artwork that went along with the game. Occasionally, they would just like show pictures of this awesome artwork that they had done, and they would have narration over that. They do that a couple of times in Transistor as well. But Bastion had this really kind of like cartoony feel to it. The colors were incredibly vibrant. The world was like, it felt super alive, right? And they have kept that same like palette. They've like darkened the colors, but like you can totally tell it's a Supergiant Games art style. And they've set it in this crazy cyberpunk futuristic dystopia. And it is awesome. I think it looks incredible.
What I said to you, one of the first things I said to you about this game when I very first reviewed it, as I said, you know how sometimes games have this like cohesiveness and this beauty and this just kind of like perfection that just makes it like one of those like video games is art kind of moments or whatever. And then you're like, well, let's not get into that. But that's kind of what I said. And the first thing you said to me about the game on Google Hangouts was, damn it, this game has saying like
I
get better. I know it all just flows, you know.
I mean, it just like oozes it. And the best example that I can give is that the the enemies the enemies are this thing called the process. The game all takes place in this floating world called Cloud Bank. It's a futuristic world in the sky. I'm assuming it's in the sky. I guess it's never explicitly stated that it's in the sky, but I'm assuming it's in the sky. And the the main enemy is called the process, and it's some computer program that was developed by one of the characters that you find out about in the game. Um, and it's like self-evolving, so it's changing and destroying Cloudbank. Um, and and again, this is just an example of what Cody was talking about, the cohesiveness of the style. But the process, like the general theme of the process is really like pearly white, like Apple product white um, enemies with red, like a red, generally a red eye. Sometimes they'll have like a red core, but they all one will be shaped like a dog, and the dog's body will be completely white, and then it'll have like a red eyes and a red nose or something like that. And that's like every enemy in the game is a different variation of that particular kind of like color palette and style. And but they all look so different even though they use the same general theme. And they look awesome. They look really like all of the enemies look fantastic. I love it. I just absolutely love it. That particular style. So that's just an example of how they do it. And Cloudbank, it all kind of looks like it's all in the exact same aesthetic style. As I'm probably closer to the end of the game than you are. I'm about 5 hours in. But all of the areas feel really different, even though they use the same aesthetic style. And not only, are they just going for this aesthetic style, but there's an actual story. There's an actual explainable story reason that they give as to why this, like, the style of the city is the way it is. One of the characters that you learn about is basically an architect, and he designed the city this way for a reason, which is really interesting. So I want to talk about definitely more in detail once we actually, especially once you get further in the game, because there's a lot of stuff you haven't seen yet. But just like more about the systems and everything kind of the next time we talk. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping to have it finished by next week since I'm moving. And once I move, it's going to take a while to get all settled and stuff. And I don't even know when I'll be gaming again. So, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need to finish it by next week then, so we can talk about it, because it has one of the most fun combat systems I can remember.
Oh, so you like it a lot, right? It's fun, right?
I love it. I love it. It is one of the. It has probably the most depth of any combat system that I've played, maybe ever. I don't know, maybe ever.
Final Fantasy Tactics was pretty deep. If you remember the zodiac signs.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's not an action game.
True. Yeah. No, it's super great. So cool. So did I just skip? Did that just happen?
Yeah, you did.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
Wow.
I think it's that disheveled look that you look like shit tonight. I mean, it has something to do with that, I think.
Yeah, probably. So anyway, hey, John and I just talked about 2 games that we like that maybe you would like too. Those would be
Hearthstone
my
and
pen is
Transistor.
dead.
You're
Hearthstone and Transistor. My pen is dead off screen here, and it's really distracting me. I was trying to write it down that you swore. But apparently our unqualifiedgamers.com official pens that we're going to be handing out at Gen Con when we do a live podcast of this show together on stage at a hotel. More details to be announced.
are not working.
What's not working?
Your pen.
Oh yeah, those pens.
Our pen.
Working. Yeah. So the thing that when I started that sentence intended to say, what John said. Anyway, those are a couple good games. Go play them right now, or you're in trouble. because John and I told you to. And that's what we do here at Unqualified Gamers. We tell you what to do. And if you don't do it,
We kill
we
you.
find you.
I cannot wait to talk Transistor with you more in depth. I cannot wait. I really, it's going to be, because I can't wait to hear what kit of abilities you end up going with and using, because there are so many possibilities. So
yeah,
like,
it's super customizable. Yeah, it's really cool.
I can't wait. You gotta complete it by next week. That's your project.
That sounds good. Great. And one other thing I've been playing on the side that I don't really talk about, but I played Really Big Sky. Have you played it?
No, I don't think
It's
I've ever.
fun. It's a shooter on Xbox 360, horizontal shooter, which is not usually my thing. Twin stick horizontal shooter. But basically, every time you just die a lot, and whenever you die, you get credits to spend on upgrades. So then you die a little less, and then you upgrade. And I like games like that. So it's a fun little shooter, little arcade deal. I think it was either part of a humble indie bundle, or I paid, like $1 for it on Steam, because I'm really into shooters, like vertical shooters, horizontal, mostly vertical, some horizontal shooters, twin stick shooters, that kind of thing. I like spaceship kind of shooters quite a lot, actually. Apparently, there's a Geometry Wars 3, so I may be buying that soon.
There is.
Okay, have you played it?
No.
Okay, my friends were really into Geometry Wars in college on Xbox.
Yeah.
360. They're like really into it. I got really into it. Geometry Wars 2 didn't. I liked it, and it was about equal to 1. I wouldn't say it was superior, but yeah, 3 I might check out. Anyway, Really Big Sky is another kind of fun game. So if you're looking for something really cheap, other than Hearthstone,
I want to say that Jamestown is going to be coming out with a new game. It's going to be like Jamestown 2, and I want to say it's got co-op in it. It's going to have some cool stuff. They had already announced that they've been working on it for a while, and I think it's coming soon. So be watching for that too. I know it's coming. I don't know when, but I'm pretty sure it's coming soon. And I know you really like it.
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal piece
great.
of information.
Yeah, and it's a great game. Jamestown, the original game, is a great game.
Yeah, listen, if you want a fun vertical shooter, play Jamestown. It is also co-op up to 4 players. And it gets pretty hard it gets hard. So Jamestown is a great game though. Jamestown 2 would be great.
Yep.
But yeah, Really Big Sky. I got home from work one day. I wanted to try something new. It was one of those like Steam Roulette days. And I'm just kind of like, well, I haven't played this. It looks simple. The icon is very not, my desktop icon was not very elaborate. So I'm like, well, it's probably a simpler game, maybe like indie studio. I was right. So yeah, Really Big Sky. Good times. Great oldies. Oldies 95.3. It used to be a radio station.
KDWB.
Was that a station as well?
KKTY Bayside.
Oh, nice.
Bayside.
Cool. So we'll be back next week with more great stuff. I have an insane couple months coming up with summer, but I think during the week I'm mostly pretty good. So hopefully we won't miss any more episodes. But listener, please do understand that summer is kind of upon us.
Summer oftentimes slows down for us.
It can. Actually, last year we were actually remarkably consistent while posting even during the summer. But we will miss a week here or there. April was actually the weakest month for consistency for Unqualified Gamers in over, I think, 2 years. So,
we can do better. We will strive to do better.
Yeah. Take heart. We generally do not miss 2 episodes in the same month. Long period, but it has happened, and we are adults, as you know, from our birthdays. So we have things like responsibilities.
And my birthday presents.
If you'd like to send us a birthday present, please do so to unqualifiedpodcast@gmail.com. It's a good time. And if you're into non-gaming related stuff, check out Unqualified Experts, a show that you can reach from our YouTube channel. We are still working out the concept for that, but the first 3 episodes are up, and number 4 is coming soon.
I think there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, it's funny stuff. There's entertaining for sure. So there's all those things, and as always, you can follow us on Twitter and all that good stuff. Unqualifiedgamers.com. Is that all? Are we done?
That's all I got.
Do we go home
until
now?
Next week?
Until next week. Do I go to your home now? Is that how this works?
A couple of weeks, 2 weeks. You'll be at my home.
Do you